the Overman Warrior Podcast.
We must act now to secure our future. The challenges ahead demand our unity and resolve.
Hi, Rich Hoffman here. I always love going to the State of the State speech. I enjoy seeing, like I always talk about, I love watching the spaghetti get made. I told recently to a couple people, it's come up for whatever reason, I use that term a lot, how the spaghetti gets made in the kitchen. Because it wasn't that long ago, I took my wife to a very nice restaurant in London, my kids too. We went to Gordon Ramsay's his flagship restaurant down in Chelsea, because I wanted to go see all the political side of London. So we were down in Chelsea, and we took my wife for her birthday to Gordon Ramsay's restaurant there. And food obviously is very good, and always good stuff going on. But I'm always interested in what's behind the scenes. So I ask a lot of questions about, how do you maintain 3 Michelin stars here, and how do you keep all the food coming and going, and keep the food quality so high? So I was very curious about it, and the management enjoyed talking to me about all my questions, and they took me for a tour in the kitchen. And so I took my wife and my kids. We all went back and looked at how Chef Ramsay sets up his kitchen at that very great restaurant, Chelsea. And it was, of course, immaculate, and the food management and dates and heat up rates, the way the kitchen runs, the way expediters kind of work it out, thought was, it's not just food, it's just good management. And so I since that time, I've talked about spaghetti in making spaghetti in the kitchen. So when I want to talk about how do you determine good management skills, how do you make the spaghetti in the kitchen? Because the people in the dining room don't necessarily see it. If you're whatever industry you're in, whoever your customers are, they just want the product and they want it on time. They want you to do a good job with it. But they're often amazed if you do a good job, and so they want to know how'd you make the food? What's going on in your management system that allows you to do such a good job. So when I refer to good management, I talk about how you make spaghetti in the kitchen. So there's more into making the meatballs, there's more in the noodles, there's more in the kind of sauce you use, how hot you keep it, how long do you store it, how do you put it together, who blends it, who works the bits, who expedites, who gets it out to the dining room. It's always interesting. So in politics, unlike Chef Ramsay's restaurant there in Chelsea, outside London in England, I enjoy going to the State House, and as I often say, the State House is a much better built building because it starts with the intention of elevating everybody's consciousness. You're supposed to go to the State House as a representative and think lofty things. The big rotunda, the rooms, the Senate chamber, the representatives chamber, all the offices, they're designed to elevate your need to do good business for the people. So the tools are there, but people often fall short. They don't live up to those expectations because they're human and they don't strive very much in their personal lives. There's a lot of temptations that come along, and people get washed away. It's like building a sandcastle on the beach. I know a lot of people that have gone to Columbus, and they start with great intentions. They're like building a sandcastle. Use a lot of metaphors today. They build a sandcastle during low tide, and they got this beautiful thing that's all. They put little flags in the top of the peaks on the castle, and it looks great. They're taking pictures of it, but here comes high tide, and they build it too close because they wanted the good sand that was kind of moist. That's made you a good sandcastle. But then the water comes in and washes the whole thing away. A lot of people go to Columbus, they get washed away. start with the great intentions, they build their good sandcastle, then comes the high tide. And it's all the temptations, the lures, all the crazy things that go on. I like to see how the spaghetti's made in the kitchen, and going to the state of state, and being up close with the governor and all the members of the legislature is it's a good experience. So being somewhat of a political advocate and a person that's very interested in it, I love to go in the kitchen, not just watch what's on the news, but go into the kitchen and see how they're tending to the spaghetti sauce, and how the meatballs are made, and how long are they heating it up, and what's the food prep look like. And you see that at the state of the state. The speech itself, not a very good one. Everybody was talking about DeWine. This is his 8th year. Seen him every year, and I typically have been very cold to Governor DeWine. Although I say all the time, I really like his wife's cookies. She's very sweet. They're actually a good couple, and from seeing them up close over the years, they've been around. They've been married a long time, and they really like each other. I mean, say they love each other. Some of that you could say is political theater, but I think they really do enjoy each other. And I say that seeing that up close. I don't think it's fake. So there's good things. There's redeeming qualities about DeWine, even though I say he's been more of a Democrat than a Republican. He was horrendous on COVID policies. And I've been furious with him over a number of issues, especially Amy Acton isms. She was an abortion supporter, should have never been on his staff, and she pretty much destroyed the state with lockdowns. And the economy is still all swollen up because of it. And so before the speech, and you're talking to everybody, what's he going to say? How's he going to go? It's his last term. Vivek Ramaswamy is hanging out in the background, and people are kind of holding their nose and getting to it. And I have another good friend of mine. We were talking about the DeWine administration. We were talking about it being a roll of toilet paper, and I think it was the appropriate way to talk about it. These next few months of him are going to go really quick, just like the last rolls of toilet paper do. First get it, you roll it off, you don't really notice that it's shrunk into anything. But by the time you get to those last 3 or 4 sheets, they go really quick, and then you're down to all the toilet paper's gone. And that's the way the next few months are going to be for Mike DeWine in Ohio as governor. And most everybody knows it's a lame duck. There's nothing's going to happen because Vivek Ramaswamy is coming along with all the big ideas. And so all that said, there wasn't a whole lot of hope for a good speech out of DeWine. But I thought he did a nice, comfortable speech that was unifying and, tried to heal some wounds. He stayed safe, but he always goes back to education. All his education talk sounds like somebody who's been out there a long time, has lost touch. He wants to give books to kids when, the parents have used the kids to social media and devices to babysit them. Fran, bless her heart, and Mike DeWine, I agree with him on the books. I love books. I think book programs are great. Teaching kids to read a book instead of playing on their devices with up to 7 or 8 hours a day, which is the case in some kids. A lot of problems, and but DeWine sounds out of touch when he talks about them. And so I think this year I felt a little sorry for him because he's been in politics all his life, and you come to the end of it, and what are you going to do? Not that changes anything he did with COVID or anything he's done, especially a lot of things he's done that were just very much like a Democrat. The property tax thing is getting out of whack. He didn't really address property taxes at all. He talked about seatbelts. His idea for everything is always big government, more government. But I think that comes from him being his age, and he's part of the generation that believed all that social safety net stuff was going to work. Called himself a Republican. I think he thinks he's a Republican, but he's very much a social safety net person, and he believes in throwing money at education, throwing money at whoever can make lives for people better. And for that, I can't really fault him for having good intentions. You can disagree with the policy, but I can't say that his heart wasn't in it. I think his heart was definitely in COVID. He believed that he was doing the right thing by destroying everybody's lives. That's the power of government and the problems with it. When you give anybody too much power, the risk of them becoming a well-intentioned tyrant is always a problem. And so we've learned a lot of hard lessons with DeWine, and it was weird. I did end up getting a picture with him, and it was kind of an awkward moment. And I happened to be nearby when it took place. And in the past, I haven't done it because I was so mad at him. But he did come out and endorse Vivek Ramaswamy, and he was really good on the Second Amendment. We have stand your ground and constitutional carry because he felt he had to make good with Republicans coming out of COVID and make up to the business community. And we have, there's been some pro-business stuff that he's got behind that I do know about, stuff that doesn't make the papers. And we did end up with Andrew in Ohio, and we did end up with Joby. These are significant improvements, especially in aviation, that are going to really benefit Ohio and the world in ways that nobody really understands yet. And DeWine did know enough to not get in the way of those improvements. And he's been enough of an advocate to cheerlead on policies that did bring some decent business into the state. So those are probably enough things to shake a hand when it was available. And so I told him those things, and I wished him well. I think people do mean, again, the danger in government is it's why you have checks on power. People intend well, but they don't often do well. But you can't deny that. Definitely not in his case was it evil that he was advocating for. It was a naive approach to a nanny government that would take care of people because he wanted to help them. And that certainly he wants to help kids, and he certainly wants to help people who are not so fortunate. And as critical as I've been of him during his tenure, I can say that I think he meant well. Now, back to the toilet paper metaphor. That roll of toilet paper is coming down to the last few sheets. And Vivek Ramaswamy is going to be the future. And I'm very much looking forward to policies that will advance with Vivek Ramaswamy in the governor's mansion that did not advance with Mike DeWine in the governor's mansion. I think Republicans will have an opportunity to get a lot more done, and people in Ohio will benefit tremendously from that. And I say that by knowing a little bit about how the meatballs are made in the kitchen, the stuff that doesn't make the normal news, and why I like going to the State of the State speech, and I love getting invited. And I love seeing people who are really doing good things, and I politely observe. It's their day-to-day routine, and I enjoy seeing everybody cook good food in the kitchen. I like seeing politics being prepared in ways that is meant to serve the public. And most of the public sits in the dining room, waits for the food to come, and they either enjoy it or they don't. And but I can say that from my vantage point of being invited to some of these things and seeing some of these people up close and getting to know them over the years, and seeing how the food gets served out of that kitchen. How do you keep a standard high? Back to Chef Ramsay's nice restaurant there in Chelsea. It takes doing all the little things right. And it takes doing a lot of the hard things because it's hard. And doing them because you have a love for the product to do what it needs to do. And even if someone doesn't have the skills to do what's right, they still prepare the food hoping that people will like it. They serve it anyway. And people might spit the food out because they hate it so bad. And it probably hurts the cooks in the kitchen seeing it. Cooks should have been better prepared to give everybody what they needed or what they wanted but they fell short, and you do see the pain on their faces when they know that it's all coming to an end, and they're going to be criticized heavily in the years to come. And you start off on all these offices trying to do the right thing, only to find out that everything you wanted to build, that beautiful sandcastle, got washed out to sea. And by the time the tide rolls back out, you can't even see what you built. And I think that's kind of what the State of the State speech was this year. It was the remembrances of an administration that wanted to build a magnificent sandcastle, and it built it during low tide. The tide came in, washed everything away, didn't even leave any seashells. There were some things that did happen that were good. Second Amendment is much stronger in Ohio because of Mike DeWine, and that's good. And I'll give him that much credit. And things that he deserves to have some credit on. And again, he did get behind Vivek Ramaswamy, and that is a good thing, especially early on in the process. So the food got served out of the kitchen. The meatballs, people complained about them. That didn't change the fact that the intent was good, but people didn't like the end product. And when you have to give a speech to kind of sum it all up, you can just say you tried, and give some fluffy stuff that leaves a decent taste in everybody's mouth, and enjoy that was the last one, and revere it for what you could. And I found that my hatred for some of that activity that's gone on abated a bit, and it's something I wouldn't probably consider if I didn't get a chance to go sit up close and talk to some of these people in the kitchen where they're cooking the food, and at least see that the intent was good. But if you're just reading the headlines and you're just from a distance, and or maybe hearing them on a conference call, then you wouldn't know. But yeah, it's interesting. Again, I like seeing how things are done, and I appreciate the invite, and I always learn a lot by them. And it's time for a new roll of toilet paper. And Vivek Ramaswamy is going to be that person. And I wouldn't say that he's going to be considered toilet paper. I think he'll be a much higher class of use of his time, but it'd be fresh, and I think everybody will use it much more wisely than these last 8 years or the years before that. John Kasich was a disaster too, and it's been a long time since anybody truly got it right. And I think Vivek Ramaswamy, attached to the Trump administration and some of these current members of the legislature, it's a rare opportunity for really good things to happen, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that spaghetti gets cooked in the kitchen. I think it'd taste quite good when it does. Anyway, it's Rich Hoffman here. Share, subscribe, make tomorrow a better day. If you ever read my book, The Gunfighter's Guide to Business, I think you'll love it. Anyway, have a good day. See you later.
Thank you for listening.